Hi, Roy Hill with Brownells here, and today we've got another gun from the vault. Today's gun from the vault is a new to me model 1891 Argentine Mauser. I recently picked this up at the Brownells retail store, and I've wanted one of these particular rifles for years, and this one came in the store and was in pretty good shape, and so I had to buy it. You know, that happens working near a gun store. But I wanted to talk to you today about this cool old rifle and show you how it's kind of historically significant and some of the interesting features. Now, the model 1891 Argentine rifle, of course, was adopted by the government of Argentina in the year 1891, but it's closely modeled off of the model 1889 Belgian Mauser. The 1889 Belgian is significant in that it's the first Mauser rifle that has a smokeless powder cartridge. It's chambered in 7.65 by 53, just like this rifle. In fact, if we flop this rifle over, you can see they're very proud of it. It says right there on the receiver, it says Mauser Modelo Argentino 1891 Manufactura Lova Berlin. So this is made by Lova in Berlin in the model 1891. But I want to tell you a little bit about the model 1889 because this rifle is very, very close to the 1889. Smokeless powder cartridges come in the year 1886, and of course France has its first one called the Lebel, and then 2 years later Germany says they've got to catch up, so they get the model 1888 commission rifle, and then a little bit after that is the model 1889. Now Mauser's not involved in the 1888 commission rifle, but developing the new service rifle for Belgium, Mauser is, and it's the Mauser Model 1889. The Model 1891, which I have here, is pretty much identical to the Model 1889 with two major exceptions. The Model 1889 has this big funky barrel jacket surrounding the barrel. So Belgian Mausers have, looks like a really big fat barrel, it's just a jacket. So 2 years later, in the 1891, when Argentina said, hey, we want a rifle too, we'll take the one Belgium got, they removed the barrel jacket and then added this wooden handguard on top. So some interesting history, transitioning from black powder to smokeless powder. And then here are some of the interesting features about the Model 1891. Again, almost an exact copy of the Model 1889, some key differences. It's a Mauser. It has a very modern looking bolt action. It's a cock-on closing, so you've got to push forward there, and you can see, watch the rear of the bolt here. You can see the striker being cocked there as you push the bolt forward. So it's a cock-on closing. The cock-on opening Mauser would come later in the model 1898. It's got a detachable magazine. Now this is a single stack magazine. The rounds sit right on top of each other, and you can hold 5 in there. And then also this little slot here in the top of the receiver, this is a Mauser rifle using a stripper clip. The Model 1889 Belgian is the first Mauser rifle using a stripper clip to load from the top into a magazine. 1891 Argentine, like this one, use the exact same system. So, bolt action, detachable magazine. Interesting thing about the 7.65 cartridge, it's not very far off dimensionally from another cartridge you've probably heard of called the 7.62 by 51. This is a 7.65 by 53. The ballistics are surprisingly similar to what we commonly call today 308 Winchester. So in the very dawn of smokeless powder rifle cartridges, they developed a cartridge that has very similar performance to a cartridge we've known for years now. In fact, the 7.62 by 51 was the NATO cartridge for decades. So long before anyone had ever heard of an organization called NATO, there was a rifle that shot ammunition that performed very, very similar. For this specific rifle, this specific example of a Model 1891 Argentine, number one, it's got this cool brass muzzle cap. I saw that in the rack and said, oh, haven't seen one of those before, that's interesting. I have no way of knowing if that's actually original, but it came with the rifle. My specific rifle has some very interesting features that indicate when it was manufactured. Again, it's a Model 1891, but starting in 1893, there were some modifications done to the design. The original 1891s have a shorter handguard on top. Starting about 1893, these handguards were lengthened to give more protection to your hand if you've got a hot barrel from shooting. Another change that came in about 1893, on the detachable magazine, there's a retaining screw that's been added. So this screw right here, you can see it on the front of the magazine. To remove the magazine, it's possible. It's not designed really to be removed frequently. It's removed for cleaning or repair. But you have to undo this screw and turn that flange out of the way and pull the magazine out. Another change that came in starting in 1893 is the cleaning rod. Now, the original cleaning rods in the 1891 had a brass tip, and this is just a steel tip. It's a completely steel cleaning rod. So you've got changes in the handguard, you've got a screw here, you've got the all-steel cleaning rod. And then another modification that was done later is the sights. The rear sights here are of the type typical used with Spitzer or pointed bullets. The original 7.65 has a round nose bullet. This has a Spitzer nose bullet sight. And you can tell that because it's got the little detent you depress on the side, and you can press it forward and it'll lock in place. The older sights are just kind of friction held. Now, I did some research online, and I found a couple of websites that indicate serial numbers for the 1891 that start with an N, the letter N, were manufactured in 1896. And I think I've got lots of good evidence that this rifle was made as a complete unit in 1896, because again, it's got the modifications done to it that were put in after 1893. The serial number on the stock, on the receiver, on the barrel, on the bolt handle, and this is the key part for me, there's even a serial number right here, I don't know if you can see that, on the cleaning rod, and they're all the same serial number, and they all start with the prefix N. And again, websites I found online indicate that these rifles with the prefix N were manufactured in 1896. A couple other things about the manufacturer. Even though this is a Mauser, you'll see it's made by Ludwig Lowe. And that's the company that made the Mauser design for Argentina. Interesting thing about the model 1889 that this is very closely related to. Even though that's a Mauser design, that rifle, the 1889, caused the creation of this little company you may have heard of called Fabrique Nationale, or as we know it today, FN. So the company FN was literally started to manufacture 1889 Mausers, and then this very close copy of the 1889, the 1891 Argentine, was manufactured by Ludwig Lowe for the government of Argentina. So I can't wait to get some ammo for this rifle. It cleaned up really nicely. It had some junk and some cosmoline on it. When I first looked at it in the store, the bore was kind of dark and nasty looking. Thank goodness it was just cosmoline. I took a chance. It cleaned up beautifully. It's crisp and sharp and clear. I can't wait to get this thing out on the range. And so I'm looking now for some 7.65 Argentine ammo. But if you get a chance at one of these historic old rifles and you'd like something that's got a bit of history to it and that looks like a lot of fun, check one out next time you see one on the gun rack somewhere. So again, my name's Roy Hill. This has been another Gun from the Vault, and tune in next time and see what else we'll bring you.